But of course, the first story that I'm going to start off with is actually one that was written by a friend of the show and friend of mine, Taylor Lorenz. You might like her takes, you might hate her takes, you might think she gets a little crazy on the social media platforms from time to time. But as I have said consistently, Taylor is one of the best journalists out there, one of the best culture reporters, if not the literal best culture reporter out there. Straight up, sometimes you got to be a little crazy to be that good of a journalist. Just remember that. You got to be tenacious and you got to be a little wild. And she is. Her work stands on its own. And turns out she had a piece for Wired Magazine, a deep dive into a dark money group that is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers. And I obviously have a lot of additional information to offer as someone who is a progressive content creator, a socialist influencer, if you want to call it that, who has been approached in the past as well. So I can give you guys a little bit more details on this kind of thing too, on top of what she wrote. And there's obviously a bunch of stuff that she was not able to add in to this piece because, you know, it would have been far too expansive. But here it is. A dark money group is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers. An initiative aimed at boosting Democrats online offers influencers up to $8,000 a month to push the party line. All they have to do is keep it a secret and agree to restrictions on their content. In a private group chat in June, dozens of Democratic political influencers discussed whether to take advantage of an enticing opportunity. They were being offered $8,000 per month to take part in a secretive program aimed at bolstering Democratic messaging on the internet. Wait, what? $8K a month honestly seems like a small payout if they actually supposed to be high-profile influencers. The economy really is falling apart. Are you kidding me? $8,000 a month is an incredible amount of money for whatever their deliverables are. What the fuck? Do you have $8,000 a month that you have to spare? We're talking about like up and comers. You know what I mean? We're talking about people like $8,000 a month is life-changing money for a lot of people, for virtually everyone. You're talking about almost $100,000 a year. That's, you know, that's an incredible amount of additional revenue that you're going to be able to generate. $8,000 a month would change every single person in this chat's life. No matter how high profile the people are, unless there's someone like myself and there's not a lot of other people at my level, $8,000 a month is unironically going to be a life-changing amount of money for most people. And this is not like me flexing. You have to understand. Like someone like David Pakman would, I'm using him because he's like a big content creator, right? Like he would be a high profile influencer. I'm not making any inferences here. I don't know if he was a part of this or not. I'm just using him as an example because of like his size, or Kyle Kulinski, for example, right? Kyle Kulinski is an even better example because he most likely didn't participate in this program, obviously. So I'll just use him instead. For someone like Kyle Kulinski, $8,000 in additional revenue a month would be massive. He is one of the most high profile political influencers out there. Even Majority Report, he's in the article. Yes, he took the money, not Kyle. Oh, he is in the article and he did take the money. Oh, he was a part of the program. Okay, well, all right. Well, then I don't feel that bad first saying David Pakman. Anyway, but the contract sent them to Chorus, the nonprofit arm of liberal influencer marketing platform, came with some strings. Among other issues, it mandated extensive secrecy about disclosing their payments and have restrictions on what sort of political content the creators could produce. In their group chat, influencers debated the details. Should we send a joint email with all our email addresses, or are we just going to send things separately and hope they change everything for everyone? Lorenzo, a non-binary creator in Columbus, Ohio, with over 884,000 TikTok followers, asked the group. Some joked about collective bargaining. Any Newsies fans in here? Eliza Orlins, a public defender and reality TV star known for appearance on Survivor, posted in the group. We're a union just by saying so. The influencers in the chat collectively had at least 13 million followers across social media platforms. They represented some of the most well-known voices in online posting in support of Democrats, and they are the key. They're key to wherever the party moves next. But ultimately, the group didn't make much progress. Reading through the revised Chorus contract, like you win some, you lose some. A reproductive justice influencer named Perry, who posts under the handle Women in America, responded later in the thread. I also think there's at least 4 other things that should change, but the vibe I got from their email was that there would be minimal, if any, changes. Lorenzo, Orlins, and Perry did not reply to requests for comment. I don't feel strongly about pushing, to be honest. Aaron Parnas, a Gen Z. Oh my God, Lev Parnas' son, Aaron Parnas, was a part of this. A Gen Z news influencer who has been called the Gen Z Walter Cronkite, has been lauded in legacy media outlets, posted in the chat. they aren't going to modify it anymore. Seems like a take it or leave it. Partners declined to comment. I believe we're in stage 5, acceptance, Perry responded. Creators began signing on to the deal. For years, Democrats have struggled to work with influencers. In 2024, President Joe Biden's White House snubbed several prominent content creators after they lightly criticized the administration over its policies on climate change, COVID, Gaza, and the TikTok ban. Content creators who challenged Kamala Harris, including Hasan, Piker, a well-known influencer on the left, were similarly unwelcome at campaign events. After the Democrats lost in November, they faced a reckoning. It was clear the party had failed to successfully navigate the new media landscape. While Republicans spent decades building a powerful and robust independent media infrastructure, maximizing controversy to drive attention and maintaining tight relationships with creators despite their small disagreements with Trump, the Democrats have largely relied on outdated strategies and traditional media to get their message out. Now, Democrats hope that the secretive Chorus Creator Incubator Program, funded by powerful liberal dark money group called the 1630 Fund, might tip the scales. The program kicked off last month, and creators involved were told by Chorus that over 90 influencers were set to take part. Creators told Wired that the contract stipulated they'd be kicked out and essentially cut off financially if they even so much as acknowledged that they were a part of the program. Some creators also raised concerns about a slew of restrictive clauses in the contract. This is so fucking insane, bro. What are we doing? What are the creators doing? What are the fucking liberals doing? What's wrong with you? Why the fuck? Dude, first of all, this is the type of shit we yell at Tim Pool over because they're getting it from fucking Russia, okay? This is the type of shit we yell at Ben Shapiro over because they're getting money from the same exact funding groups that fund the Republican Party, like the Wilkes brothers and shit. How the fuck are these guys just like running around being like, the Democrats are awesome, liberals are great, Gavin Newsom is hot, I want him to blow my back walls out, I think he's the next president, and then you fucking turn around and you're getting a fat bag from the Democratic Party through shadow donations that you're not even disclosing. What the fuck? Unimaginably unprincipled. Shit, man. It's also a demonstrable failure. This is what's so fucking annoying about it. That's why I'm out here giving free ball. What do I always say? Free ball is free. Okay, you want to know what to do? You want to reach out to the youth, young men? I'm giving it out for free. There's also working examples of it. Zohran Mamdani is a working example of it. But these guys don't want that. They don't want to change their policies. What they want is to be able to manipulate people into loyalty to the Democratic Party without any sort of real changes in the way that they are alleviating people's economic hardships. But it now turns out that when people come in here and yell at me with DNC talking points and I say, show me the pay stubs, it turns out some of those motherfuckers do have pay stubs, except their fans don't. And their fans are deluded into thinking that these guys are actually telling them the fucking truth. But it turns out they're actually making you annoyed at the left at the behest of the Democratic Party because that's what they're fucking predisposed with. Holy fuck. The Dems have a terrible time reaching young men because they push rhetoric and that just doesn't resonate with most young men. It's almost a catch-22 between either being realistic about women's rights or appealing to young men to get the vote. No, you can do both. You can do both. You can do both. You can be like, don't be a fucking weirdo loser to women. What the fuck is wrong with you? And also advocate for shit that is going to alleviate some of the economic hardships that young men are experiencing, okay? I do it every day. How the fuck am I able to do it? Not that you'd ever accept this, but it just goes to show how principled and consistent you are. This is a roundabout big W for you and vindication for the DNC shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. This group never even entertained reaching out to me. I think they were smart enough not to fucking come to me. Or if they did, I didn't hear about it. I'd have to ask my manager, but I don't think this was a thing. Anyway, influence including the communication about the program and in some cases onboarding session for those receiving payments from the 1630 Fund, including, oh my God, Olivia Julianna, the centrist Gen Z influencer who spoke at the 2024 Democratic National Convention. Lauren Piretra, a former Playboy executive turned political influencer who hosts a podcast for Occupy Democrats. Barrett Adair, a content creator who runs American Girl doll themed pro DNC meme account. Suzanne Lambert, who has once called herself a Regina George liberal. Ariel Fodor, an education creator with 1.4 million followers on TikTok. Sandra Jennings, a former TLC reality star and older brother of trans influencer Jazz Jennings. David Pakman, who hosts an independent progressive show on YouTube covering news and politics. David, you've been in this fucking game for so long. What the fuck are you doing? That's crazy. Lee McGowan, who goes by the online moniker Politics Girls, and dozens of others. The first two declined to comment. The rest did not respond to requests for comment. According to the copies of the contract viewed by Wired that creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationships with Chorus or the 1630 Fund, or functionally they're being paid at all. I don't even know how this is allowed. How is this not a fucking violation of numerous points of regulation? I feel like this is a violation of I mean, this is a FTC violation. And not only that, but it's like you have to disclose when you have an ad, and you have to disclose if it's a political ad, especially. Actually, that's not true. I don't think you have to disclose if it's a political ad, but it's already, I guess technically not. Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to actually put hashtag ad if it's a political ad because that's already clocked. Like it's that those payments are all public. You just have to sort through the data. So I guess it wouldn't be an FTC violation at all. It's not an ad, it's a membership, it's a loophole. No. Even if it was an ad, I don't think they would have to disclose it, because political payments that a campaign makes is all, or even PACs make, are all oftentimes like hidden under numerous different subsidiaries and whatnot. But payments being made from a political group like a PAC or whatever, you don't have to, I don't think you legally have to disclose that it's an ad that you have. And the only reason why you don't have to legally disclose that you're doing a hashtag ad, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong, but the reason why is because it's already public for those who are, crazy enough to go and seek it out. Like one of the examples I'll give you is a Progressive Victory, right? They approached me a million fucking times, but because they were like aligned and affiliated with Destiny, and because they were like being run by Brianna Wu, I was like, I'm not touching that shit. And there's some nice people that work there, some people who are truly ambitious, but what it turned into was a fucking slush fund for Destiny's best friends. I was not touching that. Now, this is a different thing. This is not that. And I didn't touch it with a 10-foot pole because I was like, I can't be aligned with something like this because of the people that I am, the people that are running this, and also the people that they think are good voices to uplift, the people that they're willing to pay to do political advertising. For me, I was like, that's not something that I'm interested in. All of Destiny's former orbits suckled on Progressive Victory. Yeah, and it turned into a fucking slush fund for Destiny's besties, like straight up. All of the people who are pro-Israel and all the people who are pro-Destiny unironically got fucking paid. She says she takes their talking points and puts them in their own voice, saying she always discloses when she's being paid. When it comes to hawking commercial products or sharing financial advice, federal rules require influencers to disclose when they're being paid. But in a rulemaking last December, the Federal Election Commission voted against similar requirements for influencers spreading political messaging, which is fucking insane, by the way. Why the fuck would you not have to disclose that? Are we kidding? But yeah, in the United States of America, if you are a political campaigner, if you are a political operative, you do not have to disclose that you're getting paid to say certain things, which fucking blows my mind. Blows my goddamn mind. How is that possible? I'm a professional fundraiser. Someone who is collecting checks from a campaign will show up on that campaign's FEC report. Yeah, exactly. That's precisely the reason why I said, like, because it's public on the back end, technically they can get away with saying, oh, you don't have to disclose it, which is fucking bullshit. Okay. If it's a super PAC, it could be disclosed, or it could say it's paying some other PAC that's paying some other PAC, etc. The real dark money, though, is the 501c3s and the 501c4s, since they do not have to report. Exactly. Does the liberal influencer believe to have been approached by Chorus about 1630 fund financing opportunity this spring? They were told that Chorus appreciated the work that they were doing online and were asked if they'd be interested in being part of the first cohort of a new program that Chorus was running to help expand their reach and impact, creators told Wired. But following the initial outreach, many creators expressed concern about some stipulations. According to the copies of the contract viewed by Wired, creators in the program must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. Creators also have to loop Chorus in on any independently organized engagements with government officials and political leaders. If I want to work with another politician, I have to fully collaborate with them, said one creator who was offered the contract but ultimately declined to take it and asked not to be named. If I get Zoran and he wants to do an interview with me, I don't want to give that to them. Creators in the program are not allowed to use any funds or resources that they receive as a part of the program to make content that supports or opposes any political candidate or campaign without express authorization from Chorus in advance in writing per the contract. The contracts reviewed by Wired prohibit standards of partnership disclosures, declaring that creators will not publicize their relationship with Chorus or tell others that they're members of the program without Chorus's prior express consent. They also forbid creators from disclosing the identity of any funder and give Chorus the ability to force creators to remove or correct content based solely on the organization's discretion if that content was made at a Chorus organized event. God damn, this shit is so ass, bro. It is so fucking ass. I mean, Republicans are going to make mincemeat out of this. Actually, I don't know. They're probably too busy fucking talking about how woke Cracker Barrel was and doing victory laps over how not woke it is now or some shit to actually pay attention to this stuff. But like, they used to make a mountain out of a molehill with like any kind of DNC pay stubs that like Harry Sisson got. So this is the big Monty. This just basically shows exactly where we're at. Slop tubers also impacted. Yeah, this is a different version of that.
That I have always found very interesting is the way that like slop tubers
this is about Progressive Victory, or Progressive Voice or something. I don't know. Progressive Victory.
Zionists so quickly and willingly, even though Zionist like propaganda really isn't that profitable to do
That's
anymore
why I'm
as an
playing this
independent
real
creator, because the appetite for it among the general public has massively decreased, and it's only getting worse for them.
Now let's get back to the other pack that's doing something similar as well, but a little bit more structured and not as hyper focused on, like, I don't know, making sure that one content creator is and all of his friends are churning out loyal slop shit. So yeah, as we covered Taylor Lorenz's article here, I said before I sidestep to the other one, Progressive Victory Fund, we're going back to Chorus now. They are a part of the contract clause is that they are not allowed to disclose who funds them. They are not allowed to disclose that they are funded at all. So let's continue. There are some real great advantages to housing this program in a nonprofit. Graham Wilson, a lawyer working with Chorus, said to creators on a Zoom call reviewed by Wired. It gives us the ability to raise money from donors. It also, with the structure, it avoids a lot of the public disclosure or public disclaimers, paid for by blah, 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 that you see on political ads. We don't need to we don't need to deal with any of that. Your names aren't showing up on reports filed with the FEC. Wilson did not reply to a request for comment. The Federal Election Commission also declined the comment. The goal of Chorus, according to a fundraising deck obtained by Wired, is to build new infrastructure to fund independent progressive voices online at scale. The creators who joined the incubator are expected to attend regular advocacy trainings and daily messaging check-ins. Those messaging check-ins are led by Cohen on rapid response days. The creators who have to attend at least 2 Chorus newsroom events per month, which are events Chorus plans, often with lawmakers. Elizabeth Dubois, an assistant professor at University Research Chair in Politics, Communication Technology at University of Ottawa, who has researched the ways influencers are reshaping the U.S. political system, says that we are seeing influencers being pulled into these dark campaigns or shadow campaigns where the legal aspect is murky at best. Sometimes it is actually clear that influencers are being used to, for example, evade spending limits, she says. I think that we need to remember that for democracy to thrive, we do need transparency around who is paying for political messages. Don Hyder, the chief executive of Marcola Center for Applied Ethics at Santa Clara University, says that the outline restrictions violate ethical norms. If the contract for getting money from a particular interest group says you can't disclose it, then it's pretty simple. You can't take the money, he says. We're living in an era where a lot of powerful people have basically taken the rule book and thrown it out the window. Keith Edwards, a Democratic content creator who has skyrocketed to fame on YouTube since starting his channel last year, was not invited to be a part of the program, but believes that the way it's structured seemed predatory. He says that he would never agree to take part in a program that was run in secret or wouldn't allow him to disclose funding. What I don't understand is, why wouldn't you just donate to creators directly who have already built something and just need to put gasoline on the fire, says Edwards. Democrats at least understand that the internet exists now, so that's good. But they still think influencers are just there to do a terrible direct-to-camera interview that no one watches rather than just treating us like another form of media. The influencers offered the funding were given just days to sign the contract, which was essentially presented on a take-it-or-leave-it basis. At least one cohort was specifically told they could not have their lawyers redline it. In that group chat, formed to discuss contract negotiations, some creators discussed a clause prohibiting the disparagement of other creators. Not being able to criticize anyone else affiliated with Chorus felt restrictive to some, according to text messages posted to the chat. Eventually, the creators in the group chats agreed to drop the issues they had. I don't think Chorus is out to screw us. Orleans, a creator who was offered $8,000 per month, said in the group chat. Some influencers for the Chorus Creator Incubator Program were offered as little as $250 per month, according to one creator who declined to accept the deal, while others were offered memberships into the Amplifier cohort, which provides up to $8,000 per month. Bro, if you're taking a bag for $250, it's the worst. You're like, I'm sorry. If you're literally selling out whatever ambitions you had as a political commentator for $250 a month, you are not in the right business. I'm sorry. What the fuck? At least the people that were selling out for $8,000, that's like life-changing money. $250 a month, and you're gonna be a mouthpiece for a fucking shadow organization that has this much restriction on your life? What the fuck? See, this is the problem. A lot of people don't understand. The issue here is if this is your job, this is your goal, if this is your career ambition, if you want to become a political content creator, if you want to be a political commentator, you have to have a unique worldview. You have to have some things that you truly believe in. You can't be a fucking hired gun. What the fuck are we doing? It's so stupid. That's how little you care about integrity. What the fuck? The 1630 Fund has emerged as a powerful funder in Democratic spaces in recent years. Its website notes that issues supported by the organization include economic equity, affordable health care, climate solutions, racial justice, voter access, and other essential social change goals. The organization was founded in 2009 as a liberal response to the conservative dark money groups and organizations like the Koch network, and under Trump, it has soared. In 2018, the 1630 Fund provided $141 million to more than 100 left-leaning causes in order to bolster Democratic support during the midterms, according to a tax filing obtained by Politico. In 2020, the fund distributed more than $400 million, Jesus Christ, according to the organization's public tax filing, which Politico said was used in efforts to unseat then-President Donald Trump and the Republican Senate majority. In 2022, the 1630 Fund spent $196 million backing state ballot measures on abortion rights heading into the midterms, according to NBC. Just 4 donors accounted for close to 2/3 of the fund's revenue in 2023, according to its tax filing. The largest donor gave the group $50.5 million, with others donating $21 million, and $13.6 million. The 1630 Fund, which is not required to disclose its contributors, has for years been a major funding source for liberal and progressive causes and groups, including those that spend in elections, says Walker Davis, a research director for the open government group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. Though their recent tax returns indicate that they've always pulled back from the eye-popping sums they raised and spent in 2020, the organization is still one of the top spending politically oriented groups, oriented nonprofits in the country. Chorus, which is described in contracts reviewed by Wired as a project of the 1630 Fund that handles operations for the Creator Program, launched in November 2024 as a nonprofit arm of Good Influence, a for-profit influencer marketing agency aimed at helping content creators connect with social good campaigns. Good Influence was founded in October 2020 by Stuart Perlmutter, the former comms director for the Representative John Yarmouth of Kentucky. Seeing an opportunity after Kamala Harris's loss last November, Perlmutter co-founded Chorus with the Democratic influencer Brian Tyler Cohen. Ain't no fucking way. Brian Tyler Cohen, who was over 4.6 million subscribers on YouTube and leads messaging check-ins with the creator cohort on rapid response days. According to records reviewed by Wired, Chorus claims that its initial creator cohort has a collective audience of more than 40 million followers with more than 100 million weekly viewers, and that the organization has hundreds of creators signed up and ready to amplify messaging. I've spent most of my career researching right-wing media. Also, Brian Taylor Cohen is another friend of Destiny, isn't he? Again, I am noticing that like a lot of these guys who are invested in whether it's for genuine ambition and good reasons because they truly believe that the Democratic Party is the savior of mankind, or whether it's like a cynical way to try to amplify your worth within the confines of the Democratic Party machine, or if it's just to make money, regardless of whatever those motivations are, it's very clear to me that these guys have one pattern. They don't step outside of the line when it comes to whatever the Democrats are communicating, which is something that I've always wondered about. Because I'm always like, how the fuck are you going to be an independent content creator, an independent political commentator, and never actually criticize the Democrats? Like, what is going on? Show me the pay stubs. This is what I used to say all the time. If you remember, if you recall, one of the things I used to always say whenever motherfuckers would come in here and be like, oh, I'm going to defend the DNC. You're wrong. It's the left that did this. I'm going to defend the DNC. I'd be like, show me the pay stubs. It turns out there are pay stubs. Not for you if you are a fan of any of these content creators. You've just been deluded, right? But these guys do have some pay stubs. So this makes a little bit more sense. I will also say, however, that the other thing that I've noticed here is that they are noticeably absent from the conversation on Gaza. This is a major issue. It's a major issue that was almost entirely propped up by social media and independent sources, whether it be on the ground Palestinians who are filming their own demise, filming their own genocide, bravely, if I may add, or whether it be those those videos that are being amplified by independent media content creators who see right from wrong, who have a conscience and decide that this is unconscionable and actively speak out against it. If you are an independent content creator, if you're in the media, you're not going to speak on it. We know this already, right? But if you're an independent content creator and you're silent on this, if you're an independent content creator and you're silent on one of the biggest issues of our time, then it's very obvious that there's like most likely a financial motivation here, a financial imperative here. Something interesting about the timing of when this video was released and the context that this article provides is interesting. What?
Before I was understanding where it's like, oh, yeah, I'm kind of edgy. I say like whatever. I don't even know if you know who Aiden Ross is, but the fact that like Donald Trump's like shouting this guy out, like this is a guy that like
Destiny and Brian Tyler Cohen call out Kamala Harris, take the gloves off finally. This is when November 18th, 2024. Brian Tyler Cohen and Destiny talk Trump's collab with Aiden Ross and Kamala Harris refusing to go on Joe Rogan's podcast. Anyway, I don't know if it like matches up timeline wise with like the Brian Cohen is not surprising. This makes me sad, man. I wish these guys wouldn't do this shit. Okay. That's what I wish. I wish they would stop doing this shit. Anyway, let's get back to it. I've spent most of my career researching right-wing media and sounding the alarms about the collapse of our old information environment. Ellie Langford, the director of programming at Chorus, said on a Zoom call with dozens of creators in June, our political systems haven't been able to figure out a real solution. And I've been really excited to see you all treading the path forward. I deeply, deeply believe that the work you are all doing is what's going to make the difference in supporting and frankly resuscitating our democracy. Already creators in the program are creating content together. In a weekly series called Good News in Politics, 6 creators in the program shared a collaborative video running through political wins. Follow these creators, bringing you hope instead of doom scrolling. Sanders Jennings, E. Orleans, Jess Craven, Tono Latino, Gemma Talks, the Zactivist they posted. While some creators have been eager to work with Chorus, others distrust the organization. This spring, Chorus faced a wave of backlash from prominent content creators whose images were included in the firm's fundraising decks without permission. I was including some of the Chorus decks, like we have access to V. When you do not, said V. Spihar, a liberal content creator with over 3.5 million followers on TikTok. That's also kind of scummy. The faces of several well-known influencers were featured prominently on the Chorus website beneath a giant donate button. However, users who clicked the button were taken to a fundraising page for Chorus. Instead of anywhere, their dollars would go directly to the creators featured. Progressive YouTuber and former media staffer, Media Matter staffer Kat Abu-Ghazalek, who's running for Congress in Illinois, was pictured on Chorus's website and included in fundraising decks without her consent. She asked that her image and name be removed and no longer used for fundraising purposes. Spihar and other content creators have accused Chorus of attempting to establish themselves as a gatekeeper to democratic political leaders. What we need is for people to invest in independent media, and that it doesn't necessarily mean investing in a consulting group that is going to become a middleman for independent media, says Spihar. They took what you said unironically, say about wanting to be a proud mouthpiece of the regime and applied it to whatever dog shit the DNC is churning out while lining their pockets handsomely. My mother-in-law is a big-time Gen X liberal, and we'd regularly get into debates about Genocide Joe that always ended up with her begging me to vote for blue no matter who. She obsesses with Aaron Parnas and Brian Tyler Cohen, and now I got to debate her on this. Christ, I'm exhausted. What do you mean? This is not a debate. You can just like accurately tell her that like there is a reason why the information that you're getting might not necessarily be the full scope of reality. And there's obviously a financial imperative associated with that. This is like the easiest thing to communicate to people. Okay. This is the easiest dub of your life. Not to like dunk on your mom or anything like that. But I mean, the reality of the matter is when you have instruments of the party making these ridiculously stringent rules that straight up tell you what you can and can't say, and they pay you for it, then all of a sudden you're not a political commentator. You're not an independent voice at all. You're simply a mouthpiece for whichever slush fund that exists. In this circumstance, is just like Chorus. I don't even think that they had a lot of credibility to begin with, but now they definitely don't have a credibility at all. This basically proves why so many of these liberals online, that's why I always tell you, like, don't listen to the fucking liberal voices on TikTok or on YouTube or whatever. They do not reflect the broader sentiment of the population. The broader base of the Democratic Party, for example, is literally 92% on the fuck Israel side, okay? 77% of Democrats acknowledge that Israel is doing a genocide. 77%. None of these guys actually talk about that. None of these guys actually openly state it. How the fuck could you be an accurate reflection of the Democratic Party's base if you are speaking zero moments about the one singular issue that Democrats have a supermajority opinion on? Democrat voters, I mean. Only 8% of Democrat voters want to continue supporting Israel. Only 8%. This is not a real issue at this point. 92% say no more. No, but have you considered that you're purity testing? This conveniently absolves me of giving any justification to unjustifiable shit. Yeah, like, I'm not a purity tester at all. As a matter of fact, a lot of people yell at me for that reason. A lot of people in my community yell at me all the fucking time. They say, Hasan, how dare you align with like this person or that person. They're not pure in their politics. And I understand that because I understand that normal people in the real world have a totally different framework than we do in this community. This community is an echo chamber. This community is far more radical than the average person. Our goal is to get those other people, the normies, to also see the world with a better analytical framework, dialectical materialism, okay? That's the goal here. So obviously, in an effort to expand the echo chamber, in an effort to reach out to a broader audience, there are going to be people that that I collaborate with, that I work with, I talk to, that I'm not going to be fully aligned with. Having said that, however, I don't think this is a purity test. Okay, this is not like a purity spiral. This is just like straightforward paid propaganda. This is paid shilling, a paid shilling that unironically creates that same closed circuit that forces Democrats to not actually look at what the real issues are and actively choose to solve them. And instead, it's the Democratic Party trying to employ people to actively propagandize to an audience that thinks they're getting real information, like real unvarnished truth from independent content creators online. And the only thing that they're doing is basically the same fucking regurgitated CNN talking points that political consultants deliver in mainstream news. And that's what's really fucked up about it. They think that it is actually not the Democrats, the party itself, that is the problem. It's the voters that are not invested enough in harm reduction narratives and whatever the fuck motivates people to go out and vote for the Democrats. This is devastating because it's also consistently led to the Democratic Party's demise over and over again and led to two major defeats against a fucking incompetent charlatan fascist like Donald Trump. It's terrible. It's completely unacceptable. And this is straight up a part of the problem. This is a major part of the problem because this is emblematic of the issue that is at the core of the Democrat Party. An inability or lack of interest in actually listening to the demands being made by voters, which is undemocratic inherently. This is anti-democracy. This is anti-democratic process. The fact that they are, instead of like taking a cold, hard look at all of their failures in the aftermath of this massive defeat against Donald Trump again, instead of looking at that and maybe changing the way that they operate, the fact that they are still saying, no, we just got to like dunk on the vote, we got to influence the voters better is insane.
Show me the pay stub. If you are currently working at the behest of the DNC, show me the pay stub. I mean, I'll still shit on you because you're an immoral piece of shit, but show me the pay stub. Are you a DNC employee? Because if you're defending the Democratic Party's malfeasance, its negligence, its malpractice, at this stage, you're a fucking psycho. You're the biggest cuck I've ever seen in my entire life. I want the Democratic Party to be more like Republicans, okay? Not in the way that they, not in ideologically, obviously, but in the way that the Republican Party actually gets shit done. Why can't the Democrats fucking get shit done? Why? Oh, our infallible institutions, like, oh, we must defend them. Like, that's so stupid. That's so stupid. Shut the fuck up. I don't think promoting voter apathy is helping either. Dude, I am a political commentator with very limited influence, okay? Very limited influence on the internet. If you think that I can create voter apathy, but the Democratic Party's fucking malpractice in the face of so much injustice, when they have both the fucking Senate and the Congress and the White House, you are fucking fundamentally broken. You are the reason why the Democratic Party keeps fucking losing voters, okay? You're an idiot. I'm sorry.
Look at that. When is that from? Is that from this past week? No, this is long hair Hasan, so clearly it's not from this past week. Oh, that's right. This is from May 5th, 2022. Wow. Some things never change. My hairstyle might change. My audio processor might change, and then my voice comes across as deeper now because I got that pirate software on lock, the voice deepener. Okay. It's not like my balls dropped. It's just that my software changed. Don't paint my nails no more. Don't have that kooky ass haircut no more, looking like a goddamn hippie. Having said that, the message remains consistent. This is why I always laugh when motherfuckers are like, Hasan, you've changed. It's like, no, man. You just watched a video or two from the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet that were able to convince you that I have changed. I have said the same exact shit for the past decade. Okay? Either you were not paying attention or your attitude changed. And it turns out maybe your attitude changed because you went and got duped by a motherfucker that was getting paid from one of these goddamn PACs to basically tell you how the world is actually, when in fact, they were just getting paid to do so. Anyway, you have changed. We don't get Hell's Kitchen / Kitchen Nightmare content. You don't even run ads at the top of the hour. What happened? That's because the Piker Broadcasting Service is funded by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers. That's it. The only way to support the show is by subscribing, which you can do for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. If you want to do so, you can give subs as well. That's it. That hasn't changed either, motherfucker. I used to do top of the hour ads because I had a contract by Amazon. I no longer have one, so I don't run ads. It's that simple, baby. This is literally how they made TikTok think MP is racist. Who's MP? Xylax! With the 200 bones, goddamn! Your consistency is dead on when you say you haven't changed. But whenever you make this point that you never change ever, doesn't that leave room for recognizing how much you learned on top of the good takes you've been consistent on? Sure. I mean, I'm saying that my first principles, the fundamentals that motivate me, have not changed. But how do we pay some greedy middleman if we can only pay you and not a PAC? Yep. That's why it's so funny when these guys who literally run these like fucking slush funds and shit, who run these slush funds, who are actively trying to like work within the confines of the Democratic Party, will then turn around and be like, he's bad, he's a grifter. It turns out half the reason why they're saying that is because they have something inside of them. They have an insecurity that they are grifting, and they kind of recognize it, so they have to disparage people who are not doing that. They have to disparage people who they are ideologically in opposition to, because they're like, oh, he can't be just advocating for these things for no reason other than the fact that he believes in it, because I'm not advocating for the things I believe in, because I'm getting paid to say these things. That's it. Another day of HasanAbi vindication here. Yet another day. Several influencers who doggedly defended Chorus throughout the controversy, including Elizabeth Booker Houston, a Democratic comedian and content creator on Instagram, and Ali O'Brien, a progressive creator with more than 600,000 followers on TikTok, were involved in membership talks for the highest paid tier in Chorus's new Incubator Creator Program. Houston did not respond to requests for comment. O'Brien also declined to comment. Still, some creators heard about the 1630 fund and Chorus's funding initiative and applied to join. One creator named Chesko, who goes by The Speech Professor online, applied to join the program because he viewed it as an opportunity to get access to the people that have funding or backing and actual research that I could use, he says. Ultimately, he wasn't accepted and received an email on June 26th rejecting his application. That sucks. You tried to become a fucking mouthpiece and they were like, nah, dog, you're good. That's crazy. And now you're just like, now you're seen as a guy who wanted to do this. Hasan on me. Thank you for the 20 gifted subs. The structure of the program highlights the vast difference between how Democrats and Republicans attempt to amass online influence. Once again, oh, MP is Madeline Pendleton. Okay, that makes sense. Once again, there's a reason why all of my controversies amount to socialism but rich and things that you would never actually even think twice about for any other content creator. Okay? That's it. Socialism but rich, or has an opinion that is not the established norms that I grew up in, and that makes me uncomfortable. Okay? Whether it be anti-imperialism, anti-capitalism, and the like. That's it. It's never shit like this. Have you noticed? It's never shit like this. So they have to try and make other shit up. Perhaps there's a reason for that. The structure of the program highlights the vast difference between how Democrats and Republicans attempt to amass online influence. Republicans have spent decades building up a powerful independent media ecosystem, though the right-wing influencer world is far from transparent. In September 2024, a federal indictment alleged that Russian state-sponsored network RT, Russia Today, was covertly providing millions in funding to Tenet Media, a company working with major right-wing influencers including Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, and Lauren Southern. In 2024, the National Republican Congressional Committee spent nearly $500,000 on work with Creator Good, an influencer marketing company whose website says it connects Republican candidates with the internet's most powerful conservative influencers, according to the analysis of campaign finance filings from the Washington Post. Now, make no mistake, the Republicans already have an ecosystem that is even worse than this. It's called PragerU. It's called Turning Point University, TPU. It's called massively funded networks of propaganda. So they already have a direct hands-on approach on the Republican side. This is the Democrats both coming late to the game and also doing it in the shittiest way possible. Not Turning Point University, sorry. Turning Point USA. Toilet Paper USA. Toilet paper. Okay? It's just that there is a reason why we look to these content creators and call them grifters outright, because they fucking are. And now it seems liberals are also getting in on the grift. Okay? At least before, the Democrats were so unable to make adequate investments into the digital landscape that most of the people, I thought, that had this like pro-Democrat Party alignment were just kind of fucking stupid or misguided or naive, right? Like they just genuinely were like, no, harm reduction is real, because it is real, right? So they were just like kind of naive. It turns out, nope, they were getting funded too. So my apologies to a lot of the people who I've shitted on by saying, you're doing this for free. It turns out you weren't doing it for free. You were doing it for like $250 a month or maybe $8,000 a month. But it turns out some guy looked over my shoulder just now and yelled at me for watching you because you interviewed the Hezbollah guy, lol. I did not interview a Hezbollah guy. I would. I have not had the opportunity to do so. I did interview an academic who is a historian of Hezbollah, but yeah, that experience that chatter just explained is a byproduct of this shit. Is a byproduct of the endless fucking smears. They must be confusing Rashid al-Haddad. Yeah, and he's not even a fucking Houthi. He is just a Yemen teenager, but it doesn't matter. But do you understand? Do you get it? Because this kind of like smear, this kind of propaganda, it just like cycles around, it circulates, and it does have an impact on a lot of onlookers. A lot of people who would consider themselves to be apolitical, people who even would consider themselves to be pro-Palestine, really, who still find themselves swept away by this kind of propaganda because they're just like not super tapped in. Stephen Buckley, a digital media sociologist at City St. George's University of London, says that these sorts of programs have been happening for the right wing for ages. Yeah, it's true. But Hyder said that the structure of the 1630 fund deal raises the question, is it ethical to match the tactics of your opponents? I don't think it's necessarily unethical, but this goes back to the same problem. I always advocate to fight fire with fire. I tell the Democrats to behave like Republicans, but just not on the policy side, just not on the ideological side. I want the politics of the Republicans, but with the policies that actually do uplift the working class. And this is the problem. It goes back to the Gavin Newsom equation, right? Gavin Newsom wants to bring 5 new Democrat seats to the House of Representatives through a process of redistricting. I think that's a good thing. Okay. However, I still worry that those 6 seats will now have 6 new pro-Raytheon, pro-Israel Democrats. And that is what's frustrating, because that's not going to solve anything. That's just going to put more Democrat asses in seats. Sure. But those seats need to be filled by people who actually do have convictions, who do want to fucking help the working class. Otherwise, you're just going to go back to that same cycle of eking out a marginal victory over the Republicans every fucking 4 years, and then losing in the long run to a even worse fascist that you are actively capitulating to. We can't have that. This is the fundamental difference. This is what needs to change. The Democrats appear to have no counter to the system. Democrats miss the next generation of media, says Brendan Gahan, co-founder of influencer marketing agency. I know him. Creator Authority. Historically, they own Hollywood, but this next generation of influence is digital, and they miscalculated that. I don't think they feel comfortable in arenas where they lack control. I guess that's it. That's the entire article from Taylor Lorenz. Fantastic article. Fantastic article. Obviously, Current Affairs had a complimentary piece on this as well. This helps explains why some of the most popular progressive content creators refuse to ever cover Gaza. This is from Current Affairs. A separate piece that came out that we read a while back. The decision to avoid Palestine by Democratic-aligned media seems to be deliberate, and it goes beyond Midas Touch. Midas Touch is part of a broader universe of content creators that are aligned with the Democratic Party, including Brian Tyler Cohen, David Pakman, among others. Notably, last March, according to a source of the events, Pakman attended a private off-the-record meeting with Kamala Harris on the day of the Joe Biden State of the Union address. During the trip, he met with Cohen, the Meisles brothers, and dozens of other so-called independent progressive media figures. In an internal email, Pakman later told his staff that the content creators of the White House had talked among themselves, and everyone had admitted that they deliberately avoided producing Gaza coverage in order to prevent controversy. One could argue that this is probably a big reason why these particular influencers were invited to the White House in the first place. Pakman, for his part, has previously asserted that Israel would never waste ordnance on Palestinian civilians, that he views Congressman Richie Torres, who is perhaps best known for being one of AIPAC's top recipients of funding, AIPAC's biggest attack dog, which we will be watching on the Adam Friedland show later, Richie Torres, as the kind of person who he would like to see lead the progressive movement. Current Affairs also reported on the campaign Harris campaign coordinators, i.e. indirect payments to influencers through the agency, special appearance from Cohen in there too. The New York Times has reported that the Harris campaign spent $2.5 million on 3 digital agencies that work with online influencers, and it appears that the influencer in this video may have been one of them. They were just fucking melting money. It's literally all connected. 1630 funds, Future Forwards, which funded Progressive Victory. It's a lib circle jerk. They literally came to a consensus on the face. They avoid talking about one of the worst man-made disasters of our time. Yeah, their idea of controversy was acknowledging the 30-plus polls showing she needed to stop the genocide to win, by the way. Here are 34 polls that show a ceasefire and weapons embargo to help Kamala Harris win. This was on the 21st of September, 2024. It was a compilation of 34 different polls that showed that this issue would be a mover and a shaker, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. I talked about this quite a bit, because not every single person was as invested in Gaza as others were, right? They could recognize right from wrong. That kind of animosity towards Israel didn't expand overnight, of course. That led to like the Zoran victory, for example. That didn't happen overnight. That was already there in the lead up to the election, even though it was being actively sheltered. It was actively being pushed aside by top-level Democrats in the establishment for obvious reasons, because they wanted to continue the maximum genocide that the Joe Biden administration was doing. Now, having said that, the reason why I say this is the tip of the iceberg is because this was emblematic of the problem of the Democratic Party's inability to address real issues that their fucking voters were experiencing. This was just one of those issues. It was a very big one, as Ta-Nehisi Coates correctly pointed out. How can you expect the Democrats to save democracy when they won't even stop a genocide? How can you expect a party that will turn a blind eye to a genocide that they are contributing to actually not turn a blind eye to the democracy, the democratic process falling apart? And he was right. This is why it is mind-boggling to me that there are still people who are actively either deluded by these other content creators that are getting paid by the Democratic Party to actively advocate for the Democratic Party's inevitable demise, or the death of American democracy as it stands, the theoretical democracy that we are supposed to ostensibly defend here. And one of those examples, I'm going to use 2 examples here, okay, which is this one. This guy, Sneer Review, we are so cooked it's not even funny, I said, who then quote retweeted me to say bomb Kamala Harris. To which I responded with, 22 months into the Gaza Holocaust and pro-Israel libs still try to act as though the Dems didn't throw the election by pivoting right, refusing to listen to the anger people had about numerous issues, including the genocide, and losing yet again to an incompetent fascist. They are deluding themselves. They are fucking deluding themselves. They're actively and deliberately deluding themselves. They don't want to listen to the truth. They don't want to listen to reason. They don't want to make a proper analysis as to why they lost a otherwise winnable election. Is tough, but it was winnable. Every election is. It blows my mind that people still try to do this shit, especially when third-party voters, if every single third-party voter turned around and voted for Kamala Harris still would have lost the election. So there isn't even like votes that you could have secured from the fucking margins there. So constantly fucking yelling about the left being a spoiler in this election is idiotic. It's just not true. There is no amount of left commentary from myself and every other fucking leftist commentator on the planet, right or wrong, by the way. Doesn't matter if our criticisms are right or wrong, but there's no amount of criticism that we could present that could outflank the multi-billion-dollar messaging campaign that Kamala Harris blew up with shitty message. And it's so indicative of their lack of interest in actually solving some of the problems that currently persist, whether it be Trump's active bouldering towards fascism, for example, then actively fighting against a guy who is trying to do his very best to combat the administration. If you're a fucking liberal, you should actually run around and say, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. You were fucking right. Now I'm going to stand side by side with you because you already correctly called this shit out. And even if you don't have to do that, because you don't, okay? You don't have to do that, obviously. Even if you don't do that, and you don't have to do that, the least you could do is shut the fuck up and not try to consistently say this wrong thing that makes you feel good, as though you did your very best, and now you're tired. Now you can sign off. As people are getting black-bagged and kidnapped, you can just sit on the sidelines and yell about the left. If only the left voted for Kamala, this would not be happening. It's so stupid. It's also simple. The problem is simple. Democrats run away from their base. They despise their base. Republicans run towards their base. They fear their base. That's it. That's it. Democrats actively try to convince their base that the things that they are demanding are actually bad and they should suck it the fuck up and vote for them anyway. Republicans don't do that. Republicans will find active issues that have grassroots backing, no matter how insane it is, like QAnon, and will find a way to make that a part of their platform. They do that. The greatest version of someone behaving like this is Zohran Mamdani. He went out there, he asked people what their fucking problems were, and he said, I'm going to solve them. There it is. You don't have to be a card-carrying communist to be able to do this, okay? You just have to listen to people. You just have to listen to their demands. You just have to listen to what they want. I try my very best not to fucking fight with Democrats at this moment, but they make it so goddamn hard when they just like put the crosshairs on someone like myself instead of actively fighting in unison against the Trump administration, and also maybe taking a cold, hard look at why they lost. It blows my mind. It's just so fucking frustrating because this is just a demonstration of this person's lack of interest in fixing any of these problems. He just wants to appear right, and he knows he's wrong. Okay? He knows he's wrong. He knows he was wrong. He wants to be pro-Israel, and he wants to still present himself as a progressive, even though Israel's doing a genocide, and the walls are closing in. So he just like actively tries to attack someone who was correct from the start. Someone who is doing a lot more than he is in terms of trying to fucking fight against the Trump administration currently. Yeah, it sucks that Kamala blew the election so bad by running as a Republican. That's a very stupid thing to believe. Wasn't he right about Harris allowing genocide, though? No. Not allowed to criticize Kamala Harris for becoming a warmonger because a few of your followers might decide not vote for her. Probably a lot of his followers, actually. Again, fantasizing about a reality that did not exist. These guys want me to sit there and fucking lie to my audience, okay? That's it. They want me to do for free what these other content creators are doing for $250 a month or $8,000 a month. There's no amount of money that would cause me to do that, okay? Because that's not my goal. My goal isn't to like be a shepherd, no matter how much some fucking hammer and sickle meme accounts on Twitter who were prominent community members here at a certain point and then, got actively radicalized beyond my perspective might say. My goal is not to be a shepherd of the Democratic Party, okay? I'm a shepherd for good policies that alleviate the tension, the stress, and the harm that the American working class is experiencing, and the working class broadly in general around the world. Yo, even 20K, come on, bro. Who you lying to? That's really funny that you think that there's any amount of money that would cause me to do this when, like I said, the Piker Broadcasting Service is funded by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers, and that's it. Your subscriptions allow me to maintain my editorial independence. You are a liar. I need more hogwatch. Fuck the centrist dem cunts. It's their fault we are here. You voted for Harris on stream. You are a liar. There was never a moment where I explained to people that they should go out and vote for Kamala Harris. I also urged them to not vote for Donald Trump. There was also one other third party that I said was bad. There was other third party candidates that I did not say were bad. But overall, yeah, I also turned down $1 million as a starting point in the negotiations, which means it could have gone up on election day because of my principles. Nothing is good enough for these people, it seems. I know. There's no other content creator you know who's done something like that. I promise you. The other version of this that I saw was my former podcast co-host who I don't know if I can find it, but like it was an Instagram story version of this. It was the Instagram story quote retweet, which was so fucking crazy. I saw people saying Hasan, which is kind of funny, but remember when they asked Austin Show to do stuff with the DNC law? I confirmed that Hasan the Hun was not approached for this program. I didn't see Austin on the list either. The 90 influencers involved appear to be primarily centrist pro-DNC Dems who have not spoken out about Palestine and are pro-Israel. Oh, this is the one I was thinking of, yes. This is another example of like liberals behaving in this like silly way. Everywhere around you, things are deteriorating in real time, and most people are sleepwalking through it all, worried about the Cracker Barrel logo change, as the Trump admin is knee-deep in the waters of fascism, Holocaust in Gaza, kidnappings by ICE, domestic military occupation. This is the only take that you hear from this man who's supposed to be, who's broaching the waters of political commentary here. Every single one of these policies would have been prevented by a Kamala presidency. You love complaining about Trump, but where the fuck were you when you could have done something about it? Again, I did try to do something about it. I tried to, every single day, actively yell at those who would listen that Kamala Harris was going to lose the election to a fucking fascist if she went right, if she swung right, and nobody listened. I did. I was right. What the fuck is this conversation? The notion that I, one, have the capabilities, okay, of moving mountains and swinging elections in favor of whoever I like is so stupid, because that means that I have more clout than Taylor Swift. I have more clout than Beyonce, okay? They openly and actively endorse Kamala Harris. How do I have more motion than they do? And if I do have that level of motion, then how stupid are the Democrats for not actively courting me? If I had that level of motion, how the fuck were the Dems not courting me and courting Liz Cheney instead? It's perhaps because nobody thinks I have that level of motion. This is just cope. Okay? And as far as my criticisms of the campaign, they were correct. They are the reasons why she lost. I did not want Donald Trump to win. These guys just simply cope. Also, not only do they cope about this to make this like cynical smear that like, oh no, Hasan actually wants Donald Trump to win. He always wanted Donald Trump to win, when obviously if you listen to even 3.5 seconds of my fucking broadcast leading up to the election, post-election, you would know that that is not the case. It's an insane smear, okay? But not only that, but also I have been actively fighting against the Trump administration and even have withstood penalties as a consequence of actively fighting against the Trump administration and also consistently advocating for issues that I care about. Okay? These guys have not. Their only political advocacy, liberals, their only political advocacy is basically just like left bashing at a time when everyone needs to be united against the Trump administration. It makes no sense. It's just shit smearing. That's it. Yeah, I guess he just wanted Kamala to lose, but with my support as well. Anyway, it's such a silly argument, and it's crazy that like it's still repeated over and over again. This isn't to say that I have no motion whatsoever, for the record. Of course, I understand that I have some level of influence, especially a level of influence that works best when you have a candidate that is aligned with my worldview, because there are a lot of door knockers in this community. There are a lot of people who will go out and smile and dial for candidates. Okay. There are a lot of activists in this community. So yes, there is a lot of influence, more so than like the average person, for sure. This is a very politically motivated, politically active community of people. Okay. And a great example of that, once again, when used at the behest of a candidacy that actually aligns with my worldview, with my goals, is Zohran Mamdani. A fuck ton of people both directly worked in the campaign in the close circle of Zohran Mamdani, and also were a part of the door knockers within the DSA New York structure. So I'm not going to sit here and act like there's no influence whatsoever to like abdicate myself of this responsibility. But the reality is these guys want me to do something that I'm never going to do, which is to lie to people, right? Why won't you lie to your audience if there's something that she's doing that is indicative, that spells doom, right? Kamala Harris saying she's going to have the most militant military. Kamala Harris also saying she's not going to separate herself from Joe Biden when it's very clearly an anchor around her neck. These sorts of criticisms are not made because I want her to lose. These sort of criticisms are made because I don't want Trump to win. I mean, the reason I'm here and not in their chat is because I think I and a lot of others hold you to a greater standard. Everyone knows Brian, Pakman, Ethan, etc. are tools. You are not. So when people see you shitting on Kamala pre-election and giving a lot of moral supremacists win their sale to go see Never Kamala just to their own ego and detriment to Palestine. What? I'm confused. What argument are you trying to make? Are you saying that like you hold me to a higher standard so I shouldn't actually criticize Kamala Harris as is warranted for making horrible fucking choices that led to her electoral defeat, as I fucking said was going to happen most likely? Wouldn't you not hold me to a higher standard if I did that? Then I would also be a tool. This makes no sense. My job is not to lie to my community so that a particular candidate can win. My job is to tell you what the truth is. Okay? Sometimes it's a hard to swallow pill. If the left was powerful, she would have chased our vote instead of racist suburbanites. Exactly. Once again, one of the most important parts of this is you cannot outflank the Democrats. If the Democrats are spending billions of dollars communicating message A, you can't turn around as a Twitch streamer and communicate message B and expect people to believe you, because people are just going to go, I don't believe you. They're saying something entirely different. Like, you want me to just like lie and be like, no, you don't understand. The Democrats are not doing a genocide when they are. Of course I can't do that. You want me to lie and say Kamala Harris is actually an anti-Zionist, someone who is going to stop the genocide, when she chose not to say that? Olivia Julianna, another one of these people that was paid, by the way, responds to someone saying, Olivia Julianna is a 21-year-old Latina, yet her political views mirror those of an 81-year-old Joe Biden. She's not coming to these beliefs on her own. She's being paid to spew them. She's the exact type of Gen Z/young Dem that the Democratic establishment wants, because they've done what any actual change, they don't want any actual change or progress. When young people ask that more of us be allowed in the party, this is the type of young people they decide to allow. Those who will regurgitate losing platforms and attack fellow Gen Zers, not anyone looking to shake everything up and go in and stand up for those who make less than $400,000 a year. Democrats do not want young people with integrity or self-respect. They want those willing to change their beliefs for a bag of money or a TV spot. They want someone who will defend any bigoted agendas, and they love using young black and brown to do it. Young black and brown people to do it. To which she responded with, the fact that some of you think that a young person can only have the political leanings of Bernie Sanders is part of the reason we lost young men in droves. I'm not being paid to speak my beliefs. I just don't let you all bully me for being who I am. Don't like it tough. Like, damn, I'm pro Medicare for all. I'm pro public schools, pro immigration, pro DACA, pro combating climate change, pro public education. I graduated from rural Texas public school, and yet I'm a Republican. Y'all are full of shit. I don't claim to represent anyone but myself. You're all just mad that I have the platform I do. If you don't like me or agree with me, block me. I don't care. So the issue here is she says all of this, but when the Democratic platform does not reflect any of these issues, okay, she turns around and defends the Democratic platform. That's the problem. If you are pro this, you have to advocate for this. You have to tell the Democrats that are paying you to actually reflect this. The campaign stopped engaging with voters concerned about Gaza in the crucial final weeks. Around the same time, Kamala Harris embraced Liz and Dick Cheney. The thought process with anybody concerned about Gaza was, okay, we'll lose you, but we'll pick up two somewhere else. And it was a fucking abject failure. They knew that they knew that they could possibly lose, by the way. Okay. But they didn't just want to win. They wanted to win with their own methods. They wanted to win in spite of the anger and resentment that people felt towards not only Gaza, but towards the immigration process that was becoming increasingly more reactionary, that the Democrats were championing Republican policies of 4 years past. And it failed. Anyway, this is the other group, Unfuck America, I guess, and they're also another group that's like actively working with Destiny, and you know, they're left bashing. That's when a group within the DNC structure focuses on left bashing, I'm out. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. There are plenty of fucking people who actively take up arms against me on the left, who present themselves as far more radical, far more truthful, far more honest. I spend very little time yelling at them. Why? Because they hold no institutional power.